My name is Arthur Martins, certified real estate planner and wealth advisor. And today we'll be discussing the plan or PLAN framework for stewarding wealth in real estate. I'm downtown Phoenix for a convention and was thinking of this and wanted to share it with you right now. You see, most people make property decisions the way they've always made them, one at a time, in isolation, usually in response to something that just happened. A parent passes, a tenant leaves, a tax bill arrives. But property is rarely just a property. It's a piece of a much larger picture. Your health, your time, your liquidity, and the people you intend to leave something behind for. That's why, as a certified real estate planner, a simple framework used correctly impacts families for generations. It's called PLAN, Properties, Longevity, Assets, and Next Generation. Let's walk through all four using real estate planning conversations. Details change to protect the family, to show what this looks like in practice. P for properties. The first question isn't, what should I do with this property? It's, what do I actually have? And why do I still have it? You see, I ask clients to look at every property they own and separate the emotional reasons from the financial ones. Is this home actually aligned with how I live? Is that rental property performing the way it did or the way I intended 10 or 20 or 30 years ago? Or has it quietly become something that drains you, your money, your time, your attention, and your wealth? And if you could make more from that same equity somewhere else, would you actually make the change? Or is something else attaching you to it? I recently worked with a family referred to me by one of our past clients. On our first call, I asked about ownership structure, equity, tax basis, and how their property was actually performing, not how they assumed that or the others were performing. What looked like one simple question turned out to be two separate planning conversations layered on top of each other. And that's common. You rarely see the full picture until someone outside asks. The second question, L, is about time, not money, at least not yet. Longevity. How do you want to spend the next chapter of your life and with whom? What do you want your days to actually look like as you mature? This matters more than most people realize because property decisions and lifestyle decisions are the same decision. A home built for raising a family rarely makes sense for aging in place. And healthcare needs, the ones nobody wants to talk about, have a way of arriving on their own schedule and not yours. For that same family, part of the conversation was about their daughter, who is priced out of buying a home on her own in this market. That's a longevity question, not just for the parents, but for the kind of support, closeness, and involvement they wanted with the next generation while they were still here to enjoy it, rather than leaving it all for later. A, the third question is about liquidity. Real estate is one of the least liquid assets a family can hold. And for many of my clients, it's also one of the largest ones, or their portfolio is. That combination creates risk. When an emergency happens, medical, financial, or otherwise, a family without cash, reserves outside of real estate, can be forced into sale on someone else's timeline instead of their own. And wealthy families face the same thing in terms of time and stress. Do you have adequate insurance? Do you have reserves that don't depend on selling your property first? Have you stress tested what happens if the unexpected arrives next year instead of 20? In that family's case, one investment property had quietly become underperforming, tying up significant equity while producing very little return. Left alone, that's a liquidity problem waiting to happen. Addressed early, it becomes an opportunity instead. N, for next generation. And the fourth question is the one families avoid the longest. What do the kids actually want? I've sat with enough families to know the answer is almost never what the parents assumed. Some children want the property. Many don't. They don't want to manage it. They don't want the responsibilities. They don't want to live in that area. And nobody knows because nobody's asked. So I asked directly, what do you want to teach and leave for the next generation? You're right, nobody cares. That was a guy on the street telling the truth. And if you could bless your children today, in a thoughtful and structured way, would you? For this family, the answer became the plan. They sold the underperforming property, completed a 1031 exchange, deferring the capital gains rather than losing a significant portion of it. In this case, the parents contributed roughly half of the purchase. Their daughter contributed the rest, and together they purchased a replacement property as 50-50 co-owners, creating a long-term housing solution for her and a well-structured investment for them. One transaction and pre-inheritance planning done right. Properties, longevity, assets, and next generation. None of these are complicated questions on their own. What's rare is asking all four together before a crisis forces the answer for you. That's the difference between managing property and planning around it. And that's the conversation to have before a for sale sign ever comes into the discussion. If your family hasn't had these conversations yet, it would be my pleasure to guide you through that journey to solidify your family's investment and ensure you are stewarding your wealth in the highest way possible.